Hello and welcome, listeners and viewers. This is 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb. If you've listened to or watched my podcast before, you'll know that I just love connecting with and hosting conversations with guest coaches. And that's to promote coaches and coaching, as well as sharing my endless love and value of learning. So this is series 4, and the focus is on neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. And the title of the series is Inside, I nearly forgot it then, Inside NLP, Life Lessons from Practitioners. You can tell we're early on in the series. So if you're trained in or are training in the use of NLP, or you're just fascinated by the concept, I really hope that this is going to be of value to you. So in the first episode, I gave quite a lengthy explanation of NLP, which I kind of based on information from the Association of NLP's description. And from this week on, I think let's just see how each of our guests describe their understanding of NLP, which, though we don't usually use it independently from other interventions, it's really valuably integrated into coaching conversations. And we're going to hear more about that today. So let me now introduce my guest this week. This is a fellow NLP practitioner and founder of KT Life Coaching. Welcome to Krystyna. Trybula.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and thank you so much, Julie, for inviting me. I'm looking forward to just exchanging views and getting on with talking about NLP and how it
Fantastic.
can help on a regular basis.
Yeah, fantastic. So thank you very much for agreeing to be on the episode. Let's start as I usually do, if you don't mind, Krystyna, at the beginning of your coaching and NLP journey. What can you tell us about how you got to providing the service that you do?
Um, Basically, I was aware of the fact that sometimes we hide behind ourselves. And NLP is a wonderful tool whereby we can raise our own awareness of our personal needs. I got really interested in the everydayness of how we can use it because a lot of the time we live in whichever state we tend to be in for a little while. Sometimes that can be a really good state. We can feel exceptionally happy for a prolonged period of time. But at work, that unfortunately doesn't always happen. And you vary between being maybe quite fractious at times because of frustrations that have arisen, or you can be in a state where you're quite anxious for one reason or another. And NLP can play a huge part in recognizing where you're at and doing something about it, really. So that's what got me interested.
Fantastic. Thank you. And because I've been thinking about this, it's really easy to understand coaching and NLP through experience. It's a mother matter describing it to clients just with our words. So when you're using NLP, Krystyna, with clients, how do you describe what NLP is to a prospective client, for example?
It's a combination between your mind, your emotions, and how you respond behavior wise and through your body. And it's a really good triangle to focus on, I think, because the body dictates exactly how you feel. If you're feeling anxious, then your body will show that. Sometimes your shoulders will hunch up, you get a horrible feeling inside. You're tight in terms of being able to speak and being able to explain what you want to explain. So all those things are worth noticing, in a given situation and knowing how you can alter that state by even saying to yourself, right, shoulders down, I'm quiet inside. That feeling of anxiety is gone, it's disappearing. And now I have a clear voice to say what I need to say. And you bring your own breathing down, and you're in a much, much better place to communicate in a given situation. And I think that's invaluable.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful explanation. Thank you. And I was noticing as you were describing that you were slowing everything down. And I think that's what NLP does to a degree. It slows everything down for us. So, yeah, thank you, Christine. Let's move to your particular interest in NLP today. And I know that careers and career progress are of particular interest. Can you tell us a bit about the strategies that you use, the NLP strategies that you use that you think are of particular value in a career niche, if you like?
Yeah, I like the neurological levels in that respect because there is a strand for everything that you experience within the scope of a career. You consider your environment, consider your skill set, you consider I don't have a copy in front of me myself, but just thinking sort of out loud, you consider um, what more you need in terms of fulfilling that skill set if it's not 100%, and you can identify further up the ladder what is being in this profession of meaning to me. That's the higher self. Why am I really sort of doing what I'm doing? And in doing that, how does it affect some of the other areas of my life? Am I still happy being here? What else do I need to find out about myself to make this a really formative experience, not just for me, but for people around me, and have that enthusiasm, have that curiosity to develop further throughout? So I think the best thing that I've learned through NLP is identifying the detail in terms of exactly where you are. If you know what might be stopping you, it might be something that you're thinking from way back in the day. And NLP is so good at going back to a place and examining it from a point of view where you're not actually in the situation itself. You can view it as an episode in your life, and then you can adopt another point of view from that, which is absolutely magnificent. And going back then into the neurological levels and saying, well, that was a story at the time, but what am I telling myself now? What do I need in order to make that next step? And it doesn't have to be a huge one sometimes. It can be the smallest one that is of comfort. But once you've taken that, you're away.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Just thinking about the neurological levels, and perhaps we should explain to people who perhaps don't know it so well, is it's looking at different aspects and different layers of a particular situation, isn't it? Like you were describing the environment, the
Yeah.
capabilities you have, the behavior you're displaying, and so on, almost up a hierarchy, but not. Sometimes I see it's not described as a hierarchy, but it, as you say, it helps us examine the situation. And sometimes when we're embroiled in that situation, it's hard to step outside. But NLP gives us a framework to explore, well, exactly what's going on. And like you say, what could be different? What could we, what at what level do we need to introduce or think about more resource, if you like?
And I think that's what makes it so enabling. Knowing the detail of where we're at enables us to do something about it. But I think on an everyday basis, where you're having to input yourself in a profession, I came from teaching, so I know what that's like, and I can speak about that. And I know sometimes how, the everydayness of being a teacher can impact on you on lots of different levels, so that sometimes you're midway during one situation and you're interrupted, through circumstances. And even if you are allotted planning time or whatever, sometimes you can't focus on the task in hand. I know how difficult certain situations can be. So knowing yourself and knowing sometimes what can upset you, what can upset the emotions, and saying to yourself, okay, I'm at this particular phase now. What am I going to do about it? Do I really want to stay in this state? No, I'm going to do something about it. So NLP helps tremendously with that, to slow yourself down and give yourself time to review even a moment of your day so that you can then focus on going forward.
Mm, yes. And just thinking about state management then, Christina, it's one thing changing a state, or like recognizing we're in a state that's not helpful for that moment, and then deciding how we want it to be different or what we want instead. How do you guide clients to maintain a more positive state?
I think once it's called an unresourceful state, which is basically a state that doesn't suit you. You might be feeling angry, you might be feeling frustrated, you might be feeling rushed or anxious because of all that. So being aware and saying, okay, this is how I feel right now, but I know within myself I can find that place that can resolve that. So it's letting go, first of all, of the physical state, making sure that I'm in a better place now. I can put my shoulders down. I'm going to breathe slowly. But quite honestly, if you're in a situation that requires immediate help, then you can put a calming state on a part of your body and trigger that by maybe pressing a thumb and remembering I need to slow down my breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And using all your knuckles bit by bit to go from being frustrated to being calm means that you can slow the process down by slowing down each momentum of it. So from going to being very angry, which might be a 10, now I'm going to feel frustrated, which is less. Now I'm going to feel agitated, which is less. Now I'm going to feel not 100%. Let's just say it's a sort of flutter right down to I'm feeling calm. I can breathe and I can answer in a given situation. Now, that can only take a few minutes. Once you know how to do it, that can take a minute or so to do. And it's with you all the time. You don't have to go anywhere or you don't have to be in a place of your own. You can do it immediately.
Mm, wonderful. And I was just thinking the name of that particular exercise or the terminology given to it is anchoring, isn't it? Which kind of tells us what it does on the tin a bit, that it anchors that state, it holds it for us, it keeps us steady like an anchor does a boat. And then the description you were giving of bringing yourself from one unresourceful state into a positive state, I think that's called collapsing anchors, if I remember
It is.
rightly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Krystyna, do you have any particularly good case studies that you could share with us of how you've used some of the techniques you've described really successfully with a client?
Um, I think one of the best ones that I've come across is sometimes when we are asked to perform in a particular situation, if you're given a presentation or whatever else. And sometimes that means the huge amount of nerves step in place. So if you have a role model to some extent of who you'd like to be in a given situation, it takes the sting out of actually thinking, which resource do I have in myself that actually brings that about? So I think, quite honestly, if you know of somebody who is a good speaker, what is it that they do that is so significant that makes them that good speaker? And literally follow them for a while and use them as a model, and then practice some of the things that they do. So how do they stand? How do they look? How do they adjust their body? How does the voice sound? Are they quick in terms of delivery, or are they slowing everything down and watching the audience while they're doing that to see whose attention they still have? I suppose being a teacher, this is what you do sort of non-stop, but we take it for granted, so I'm thinking about teachers sort of in general and what they tend to do on a regular basis, but coming out of the profession and having to talk to an audience that doesn't know you, because you get to know your children over a period of time as you do your staff members, and you can relate to them in specific ways. But coming into a cold room, so to speak, and having to deliver, I think, that is a bigger ask in that
Yeah,
respect. So
yeah.
for that reason, if you're not sure what you're doing, and if you can model yourself on somebody, you literally put on this armor that you go out and speak in, and you can borrow somebody else's tactics. And I think that is really superb.
Hmm. That's a
And
great one to speak of because it's about modeling excellence, which is really what NLP is premised on, isn't it? Modeling the
yeah,
excellence of human behavior and using all the sensory information that we can about what that excellence looks like, to pull that into our own information about senses that we need to experience to perform in an excellent way. Yeah. Just you talking about teaching, but also state management has reminded me of a experience I had not long ago, where I was in early one morning. I was due to go to work in a school, volunteering in what they call a reading army, and so listening to children read.
Mhm.
And just before I left, I managed to break my external hard drive. I managed to wreck the USB port. And I was in such a state of panic because I just thought, oh no, all my materials are on that hard drive. Is that lost forever? And I didn't have time to do anything other than to feel the anxiety. And as I was driving to the school, I thought, there's nothing I can do. I just have to find a state of calm, find a state that I want the children to be in when I'm going to listen to them read. And that really helped to calm me. And Christine, the funny thing was that the first book we opened, I just thought that I'd lost all this stuff from my hard drive. The first book that I opened, the page said something like, "Here's Poppy and Holly. They help people find things that they've lost," and
Oh, brilliant.
that
Oh, I
helped
can
me to
relate to
find
that. Oh,
that helped
wonderful.
me find a new state entirely. It was
Mm.
quite a strange experience that stuck in my mind for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Really love it.
Oh. So, Christina, sadly, we're coming to the end of the podcast already, and it's time for some quick questions, if I may. And
Certainly.
one of them is, what do you have particular success with in relation to NLP?
I'd say the details in which NLP encourages you to find out about yourself. And from personal experience, I never really knew how I learnt and what elements went into me learning something. And I needed to know that because of, I suppose, everything that's come on board along with coaching the technical side of things. I thought, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. And I had to experience, well, how have you experienced learning before? What is it that is meaningful for yourself? To take the fear out of it because I was getting so frustrated with it. And I learned how to do it. And one of the elements that I needed was to practice a skill. And it's something that I hadn't thought of before. I just wanted to go from knowing to knowing exceptionally well and
Mhm.
missing out the sub steps. And for me, NLP is invaluable in that respect because it puts in place exactly what is needed for yourself. We're all quite unique, and no two people will go about the same task in the same way. They'll go about it different ways. We can learn from one another, which is brilliant, but essentially you do things your way. So once I'd realized that, I thought, where can I go for a practice group? Who can I ask that will help? Where can I extend that meaningful process part of learning for me?
Mm.
And that helped tremendously. Um, Plus the fact as well that, that there are so many tools like the Circle of Excellence. If you want to feel in the right sort of frame of mind and everything else, you can sit on it, put it in your pocket, take it out, jump on it. There are so many different things that you can do with NLP
Mm.
that can really push you forward,
Yes.
to be your best self.
Yeah. And you've just highlighted something I think that's really useful for people to know is that you don't have to be in a desperate state for the NLP to be useful. Um,
No.
we could just have the normal daily human struggles and NLP has useful techniques and tools that we can apply. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's invaluable in that respect, really invaluable.
Mm. And Christina, what one thing would you want people listening and watching to take away about NLP from our conversation?
I think it's got a title and a language of its own that can be a little bit strange and new. But I think what I'd ask people to do is be curious
Mm.
because within NLP, there is so much that can benefit you on a very, very basic level. Just recognizing, where fear comes from in your body and knowing that that's what it might be. NLP enables you to lessen that sensation within yourself. And I think, it's a healthful habit to have, to notice what's going on within yourself, because it stops you being ill. So, from a myriad of different reasons, it can help on every level.
Hmm. And I love the way that you make, like you say, what does feel like quite a different language, very accessible, Krystyna. Thank you for that. And my last question then is, how can people reach you in your coaching practice, Krystyna?
They can reach me through my email address, which is which is chrissy@ktlifecoaching.com, or they can direct message me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way at present.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure that those contact details are included in the episode description as well. So, yes, my enormous thanks go to you from me, Krystyna Trybula of KT Life Coaching. Thank you for sharing your life lessons on NLP on 2020 Coaching Convos. And to 2020 podcast followers, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and share and subscribe and tell me what you want to hear more about in 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb.
Thank you so much for inviting me.